Friday afternoon. I am getting ready to write my patient notes. I'm going to do my little acupuncture treatment here. And I thought that I wanted to share some things with the world here. I always have a notebook with me. I carry it in my purse. It's how I keep things organized. Prior to doing this, I had all the important things in my life written on scraps of paper, backs of sheets, napkins strewn all about the world. And so this is me being a lot better at adulting. But I've been following along in a book with one of my heroes chiropractically and just in the world of like science and biology. And I took some notes on a part that I've listened to 3 times in the last 2 days because it's so fascinating. So I just thought we'd do a little neurobiology story time here on some fascinating stuff. I'm one of those people who loves learning about like spiritual stuff, and since I was little, I've really liked paranormal type activity and that kind of thing, but I'm pretty logical and scientific, and so I am always like, throw a wet blanket over it. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. So when I find something that can kind of synthesize like the magical parts of existing along with the scientific, it's just like perfection to me. So anyway, I've got a little bit of that here. All right, so when we think something, a thought is a neurochemical process that happens in our brain, right? I think it's Friday, I'm gonna treat those wrinkles. In my brain somewhere, a little synapse went and it released some chemicals, and it wired along with those other neurons that were like, hey, remember last week when we decided we were gonna do this little wrinkle treatment? And then it went over and found those other neurons that are back in like where I learned acupuncture, and like somehow I'm starting to create this little network because I thought something, right? So when we have a thought, we release the chemicals in our brain, and that's how something that's immaterial, like a thought, becomes a manifestation of matter. Like it actually exists and it's measurable, and it's things we could look at under a microscope or measure with a lab test. So by having a thought and releasing those chemicals, our body then responds by perceiving that and creating a feeling inside and stirring us. And this is whereby the thinking mind and the brain makes connections with feelings and things in the body. So if you feel your tummy rumble, then you think, oh, I'm hungry. And this is how conversations happen back and forth with our brain and our body. And it's a two-way street, right? Brain can talk to the body, body can talk to the brain. Happens all day long, every day. So we learn these things and they get hardwired. Well, when we learn and add new experiences or thoughts or facts into our already existing frameworks, then we're building those connections among the neurons. We're creating a bigger framework. And that's what learning is. It's making those new connections in our brain, right? And memories are embedded in those connections. So if you remember back to a fun thing you did when you're a kid, like for me, peonies are blooming right now, and they always make me think of my grandma Wanda. She had this beautiful row of peonies or peonies, as she called them, along the side of her house. So if I see a peony, if I smell a peony, when people are talking about gardening and moving bushes, my brain, like that little part that's wired to my experience at Grandma Wanda's house and all those good feelings I had, that little neural network is like, and gets all active, right? Memories are embedded in those neural networks. So thoughts are the vocabulary of your brain, and feelings are the vocabulary of your body. And that's how we make the conversation back and forth. Isn't that great? It's so crazy. So emotions, the feelings that we have, are the chemical residue, the things that happen in our brain when we had past experiences. Or they're the chemical feedback that happens in our body about the thoughts or experiences that we've had. Isn't that really cool? So the more we feel a thing, or the stronger that we feel those things, or the more that we wire those thoughts and networks together, we build that network up. And then the more we'll loop in that same thought, the more we'll produce that same feeling. And that's how we get stuck in a rut. Like we have, like I'm in a funk, I'm in a loop. We even have words that describe that, but this is the neurobiology of how that happens, right? And the more that we do something, the stronger it grows. And why this is so exciting to me is because it's what happens all day long in my clinic. People who are stuck in chronic loops wake up and the first thing that they think is like, how bad is my pain today? They're already firing up that network that's like established there and connected to that area, and then they start to produce the same thing we had yesterday. So fascinating. So it gives us hope that just because something's always been that way, it can change, but it has to start up here. And we have to start changing what we do every day and using our thoughts to lead our body, because otherwise our body grabs our brain and starts to create reality. Isn't that wild?